How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the currently unnamed podcast. In saying that, though, the unnamed podcast sounds pretty cool. I think we should call it the unnamed podcast. And we are here with Jack, Josh, me, TK. We are all together in one spot for our first ever podcast to see how this goes. Yeah. How's it going, boys?
Not too
Within
bad.
a week. We've all just met each other in the last week or so, basically. Except for me and Josh from Donkey Kick. We've been talking to each other for a long time. In fact, some of the guys, if anyone who's watching from my channel, you've probably seen him in the comments or in the live streams before or something like that. But we've got a few things we want to talk about today. I'm pretty much just going to be discussing games because I'm a boring and twit, basically. So I've just bought The Division in the last few days, and we were just talking about that a couple of minutes ago. I started to ramble on The Division and went, no, I got to save it for the podcast. And then I've got some ridiculous facts about No Man's Sky. You have to hear some of this stuff. But in saying that, I'm remaining very skeptical, which is, yeah. Anyway, we'll be talking about that soon. Josh, how's it going, my bro? Jack, how are we, man? What are we all talking about today? What are we on about?
Alright, so who's go first? Alright, pretty much I'm just...
Smooth as butter.
Pretty much all I'm going to be talking about today is like how Call of Duty and if it's pay to win now and just microtransactions in general in games.
And I'm going to be talking about the shift from Microsoft towards bringing titles to PC more often than they used to, because on the 360, people kind of paid them out for that. Now they're starting to... they pulled another 180 essentially, and people are paying them out again. So we're going to try and deep dive into that chaos.
Well, you know what? You start the deep dive right now. I've got no idea. Josh has a semi clue what you're talking about, and I need for filling in. So treat me like a young schoolgirl. Lol.
You want me to go ahead now?
Well, I don't know if I can
That
do
came
that.
out wrong.
You know, I think
start.
like on Twitch, live on Twitch, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do that. So
God damn it! I cry every time. I need to stop this getting out of hand. You go. Let's go. What fill me in? Where are we starting from? Explain to me what is happening in this scene. I've got no idea what you're talking about. Off
so
you go.
The precedent Microsoft set last generation was essentially like, we've got all of these great exclusives, we've got all these great games, and it's like the 360 was a pretty solid machine in terms of cross-platform titles as well. And the Xbox One, since its launch, it hasn't really picked up as much speed as Microsoft would have liked, especially when you put it up against the PS4. And the numbers that we're looking at now tend to kind of show, nothing's official because Microsoft isn't confirming or denying any of the numbers that have been floating around, but it looks like PS4 is at a lead of roughly 2-1.
Oh, they're smashing them. Absolutely smashing
absolutely.
them.
And
was,
a lot of that comes back to the announcement and how Microsoft has marketed the device. But what it means for them now is that they're starting to bring a lot of their titles to the PC through their Windows Store and through Steam. And one of the games that picked up a lot of speed on Twitter and a few other social networks was Quantum Break, which previously was just going to be an Xbox One exclusive.
Right.
And it's been obviously hyped since I believe it was the Xbox One launch, they announced it. And now Microsoft just said, yeah, Quantum Break's coming out in April on PC as well, which people were pretty shitty about. But the people behind the scenes... The people behind the scenes at Microsoft...
What was that?
That was stuff happening
You're doing this
at
podcast
home.
on the toilet. Just taking a dump.
Dude, yeah. Look, I'm not going to I'm not going to tilt the camera down. Okay, it's like one thing at a time. People were very quick to react to Microsoft's shift towards PC,
right? Yeah,
as kind of a sign that they're focusing less on Xbox and more on PC, and people obviously got up in arms. And the people behind the scenes, Major Nelson, Larry Herb, I believe his name is, were quick to say, Xbox is a huge priority, and the fact that they're launching games on Windows 10 shouldn't change their perspective on what's happening with Xbox and all the rest of it. And as we've seen, we're starting to get Quantum Break on PC. We're getting a version of Forza 6 on PC as well. The interesting thing is, Microsoft's going to make more money on the game sales, but they're going to make less money on system sales, because if you can get those titles on PC, then what incentive is there to get the Xbox One version?
What about
Now,
I think it was even just a few days ago. So Microsoft announced it on all their laptops, having these similar download restrictions to Mac, in the sense that everything downloaded now has to run through their system. In similar ways to a Mac. Have you heard anything about that? So could that be in some sort of preparations for, piracy downloads and torrents and things for different games that they may be introducing to to Microsoft computers and PC?
To the PC, well, the problem is, with PC, they've had a lot of, rough patches trying to bring some of those titles to, particular Xbox, to Windows 10, because they're starting to use the Windows Store as their primary distribution method, their primary storefront, and people have run into a lot of issues in terms of multiple graphics cards in the same system, trying to use stuff that you would expect would work on a PC, not working with the so-called universal Windows platform programs. And so it looks like they are trying to go for more of a traditional, not so much a traditional, like a cut-off ecosystem, similar to the consoles. And it's going to, compared to Steam, which is pretty universal at this point, everyone's saying that universal Windows apps really aren't going to take off, and a lot of people are hoping to God that's not going to happen.
They had... go on. No, you go.
You go ahead.
I hate it when this happens. God damn it!
I
was going to say this. What
were you going to say?
The Xbox One has copped a lot of stuff. I mean, immediately coming out as the all-in-one console, as in really, consoles have not got many generations left. As in, technology is advancing too quickly. They're just not going to keep up. Eventually, I reckon we've got maybe 2 console generations left before I don't know what will happen. It'll probably go into stuff like the Oculus or just on the PC in general and stuff.
In 30 years, man, Nintendo's just going to be there. I guarantee it.
You reckon?
Yeah, Nintendo's still going to be there, but everything else is just going to be dead.
They're looking like they've just settled into... They were nearly bankrupt not long ago, as in a few years ago. They've looked like they've just settled going into handheld devices and things in Japan and stuff like that. The funny thing, I was talking to someone just the other day while we were on Nintendo. Someone was talking about how crap the Wii went. And I was like, you tell me one person that hasn't played Wii Sports. Like, everyone played Wii Sports. Like, as silent as... Obviously, you're not going to be a hardcore gamer on a Wii, but, like, everyone played that. It was a little confusing to see how they were got into that financial rut. But anyway, getting off topic, back to Microsoft. When they come out, when you're talking about gamers, especially console gamers, they're a lot of them are just as big hardcore as you might see some PC gamers. And so when you're bringing out a gaming console, you're aiming for gamers. You're not aiming for, working parents who want a set-top box, a DVD player, and the gaming console all in one, which is exactly what they were sort of aiming for, and it's just not the primary market, especially when you've literally got Sony next door trying to introduce something that is by the gamers, for the gamers, all these slogans and things, just right from the beginning that was just not going to work, and that's just, you can see in the long run, they're trying to fix it, and I think they're sort of maybe realizing that also you've got Sony on the gaming end, you've got Mac on the computer end that are starting to just catch up quicker and quicker when it comes to sales on the PC side. They're who knows what they're thinking. So where were you going from there? What's the big catch?
The big question, I guess, is pretty much with their shift towards bringing out games on PC, people have less of an incentive to bring out to go out and buy Xbox Ones. There's obviously going to be those hardcore people who are out buying Gears, buying Forza, buying Halo, games that for the most part you can't really find that many other places. But seeing that shift towards Windows gaming, we're going to see less Xbox Ones sold. Is that even a bad thing if Microsoft is shifting, I guess, more towards trying to sell software? Because they do sell Windows 10. They sell a lot of games. They sell a lot of other software, and a lot of software as services, as they say. We're going to see the PS4 odds up pull ahead. Do you think Microsoft's even going to be that cut up about it if they're selling a lot of their games on Windows 10?
Of course not.
Well,
they're going to be happy because they're still getting money. I mean, obviously they're kind of showing that they're a bit sore that they're not that they're losing the this generation of like gaming, like how Xbox 360 and PS3 there was no competition really, but they're kind of being sore about it, and I just feel like they're trying to kind of damage control the whole Xbox situation by doing this thing. But I mean, even if they're moving some games onto PC, it doesn't mean that they're going to be getting rid of all the Xbox exclusives. Like, we're probably still going to get Halo on Xbox. And
I was going to say, I don't think there's some titles that they're going to keep there that are just too big a selling point or too big an advertising point just at that. Plus, the hard part would be if you're doing that, though, and restricting Xbox One sales, is you're now going to have to convince people to you're going to have to convince console gamers to, rather than go and buy a PS4, go and basically build yourself a PC, which is completely, that's the reason that a lot of console gamers are there, because they don't want to buy a computer and they don't want to spend that much money, or they don't know how to build one. And, as simple as it can be to build a computer, that's not what, young console gamers are thinking. They're thinking they just want to get a box that looks cool and put it in their bedroom that can play at 900 1080p and just stick a disc in and play straight away, and all their friends have the same console, and there's no thinking involved. They just hop on. They're not completely serious competitive gamers, and they don't need 90 frames per second and stuff to play. They just want to hop in. So it's like, how do you change the PC software and the way that PC runs to not scare away those console gamers?
Well, here's an interesting idea.
Go on.
Steam machines.
Right.
Now, it's definitely not foolproof. In terms of where SteamOS has gone, it's been a bit of a shit fest in terms of performance on SteamOS versus traditional, Windows running a version of Steam. But the idea of going out and buying a box that has the parts, for a fairly subsidized device, for a device that can run games at good enough settings, and just the sheer number of games on PC versus, if you literally just look at the number of games on PC compared to PS4 or Xbox One, it is absurd.
Oh, if they had the power to make things like that, because they've had a few variations of things like the Steam Machine and that come out. Alienware tried to release their own little console thing recently and stuff like that. They've had a few little models starting to come around. If they can, perfect at least one of those consoles, and if Microsoft are willing to put in the time and money to, try and be one of the first companies to do that professionally, that could, I'd buy that.
You know what the problem is, though, is that
Go on.
Phil Spencer actually came out and said, I think a week ago, saying he would be interested in making an Xbox which could be upgradable with different parts. So instead of actually going with a whole Steam machine, I think he wants to kind of make it so the Xbox is more like a PC. So you can still have your Xbox and it's very easy to use and stuff, but you can actually upgrade the internal bits, like let's just say their graphics card or their CPU, which has got a lot of people pissed off now because everyone just wants to be playing on one console and not have any issue at all with specs and stuff.
Would that be difficult in the sense, though, that you'd now have to basically, everything that goes into that console would have to be run through Microsoft? So if they've got no restrictions when it comes to different parts or components, just like I'm pretty sure, of course people do, but you can't crack open and just change the parts legally in your Xbox One console, because it's built from parts of multiple different companies and things like that have their own sort of bits and pieces and products in there. So it's like everything can have to be allowed, and with different, I'm not too sure, please correct me, I'm genuinely asking, are other companies going to be happy with something like that happening, or would the transition be easy?
There isn't a middle ground that Microsoft could strike, and they could end up going for, and it's happened before in the past, actually it's still happening, where you have, certified devices, as far as there are hard drives that you can hook up, there are controllers obviously that there's so many peripherals out there. It wouldn't be ridiculously hard in terms of trying to make the device itself. It wouldn't be too difficult. Trying to market that to the gaming crowd might be a bit more difficult, but trying to find a way to augment the hardware inside the box with something external. So a good example is probably a lot of Alienwares, a few of Alienwares and a few other, I think Razer actually has one as well. Yeah. They have these external boxes that you hook up to a laptop through, it's just simply a USB 3 port. You get a graphic, you literally plug in a graphics card through a USB cable. So trying to engineer something like that wouldn't be out of Microsoft's reach by any means. I mean, they're trying to get HoloLens off the ground. So they have they have the power there for the R&D and the development.
So how do they do this, though, without losing their buyers to Sony? Because at the moment they're already a little at the moment with the Xbox One. How do they make that switch successfully, do you reckon?
it looks like they won't. It looks like they're wanting to just sell more copies of software, whether it's Windows 10, whether it's
Windows 10 is just being forced into everyone's throats at the moment. It's a little sad to watch.
It's not been forced enough. They're not happy with the percentage of gamers, and I think just consumers in general. How many people have picked up Windows 10 and upgraded from Windows 7 and Windows 8? But in terms of how many games they want to sell, it looks like they're more focused on selling more. Software, like more games than hardware.
Anything at the moment is in I would not want to be in the Microsoft boardroom at this time. All their PC sales are starting to become iffy to Mac. All of their gaming sales are starting to become iffy to Sony as they're just getting worse and worse. And it's they must be a very frustrated group of people at Microsoft.
Well, you could kind of see that they were actually planning this from the get-go. Like, I could kind of see for the fact that when they first were introducing Windows 10, they were talking a hell of a lot about Xbox and how, you're going to be able to do this with Xbox and share like your game footage through the Xbox app. So I'm kind of feeling like they were trying from the get-go to do this type of thing, or to get a feel on the audience to see how they were going to react, and then, once it all goes through, then just say, oh, by the way, we're bringing out a couple exclusives back onto PC, so you can play it on PC and Xbox. Like, this whole Xbox app thing, that I feel like that was just all a whole plan.
It's just a long term. So it'll be really interesting to see what they do in the next 10 years or so. So, Jack, if you had to put your money on something, what do you think will be their next move in the next 5 to 10 years?
It's going to be a slow crawl towards less of a focus on Xbox One, and as much as they say we're not trying to focus less on the Xbox One, but it's just a matter of they're starting to split. They're putting they're putting their eggs in more baskets so that they have something to fall back on. And Windows 10 is going to let them do that. Steam's going to let them do that, and they have a lot more options. Whereas Sony is they haven't got a PC operating system to fall back on. They haven't got a whole lot of other businesses. They have mostly PlayStation is one of their biggest profiting industries that they're a part of. Microsoft has a lot more to fall back on, and that means that they're going to be able to take the hit if something they try doesn't catch on. And the Xbox One was one of those things. Them trying to try something more interesting, more radical over the next few years.
So what do you reckon?
Even if it doesn't catch on, wouldn't surprise me.
What would their next console be, sort of, do you reckon? Do you reckon it'll head more into the for gamers by gamers, sort of like Sony? Or do you reckon they'll bring out a more PC-based console? Or what do you reckon, the next console?
They'll probably just try and just PC.
The next consoles that are coming out will be an amazing turnover. I cannot wait. So, Josh, you were going to talk while we're in the financial. Let's get closer and closer. We've got the companies that make games. Let's look at games in general. You want to talk about microtransactions. What, Josh, is your problem with microtransactions? You corporation bastard.
All right, so pretty much I want to talk about so we've seen a lot of Destiny recently where they have been forcing people through microtransactions to get emotes, right?
Yeah, radio.
That's been pissing me off for the fact that it's just a freaking dance and people are paying $5 for it. But they're using dodgy tactics because you get silver in the game, right? You get 400, but if you want to get a legendary one, a dance move, you gotta get 500, and they give you this certain bonus on your microtransactions. So let's say you pay $5, you're gonna get 600 silver. And then you get that, you go get your emote, and then you're left over with money which you can't spend. So then you start spending a hell of a lot more money to try and get your money's worth, right? That's what one of my friends have done with Call of Duty recently. He had an uneven number, so he kept paying and paying till he had an even number to spend all of his points on. It's dirty tactics like that, but I mean, with the whole Call of Duty thing, they kind of were lying for the fact that they said, at first they said...
Okay, hang on a minute. Catch me up on the Call of Duty thing. Bring me up to date.
Yep, so pretty much when Call of Duty first came out, Black Ops 3, they didn't really specify whether or not there was going to be microtransactions. So the first... the first 3 weeks of the game, they came out with supply drops, which were you can get random camos for your guns, stickers and stuff like that, and dance moves for your characters. And it was all
nice.
Yeah, it was RNG based, so you don't know what you're going to get, pretty much. And then... and then 3 weeks later, they go, alright, so here's COD points. You can buy them with your real money, so you don't have to grind in the game to get those keys, so you don't have to, waste a lot of time to get new guns, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yes.
So they brought that out, and it was going pretty bad for a while because everyone was spending all their points. Like, you see all these YouTubers and they're spending, like, some guy spent $3,000 just on Call of Duty RNG and got, like, absolutely nothing. So it's ridiculous. It's like a new form of gambling for these guys. And they said these are only going to be cosmetic items, like, skins, dances, nothing which will actually alter your alter the way you play the game. Like, you're not going to be better than someone else when you first play it. But a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, they decided to release a couple of guns with the new DLC. But the only way you can actually get these is by going and getting supply drops. So you can only actually get the guns if you're going through supply drops. And these new guns which they've got are a lot stronger than any of the guns in the game. So they've put it behind a paid wall, and there's actually rumors going around now that they've made an algorithm that the game can only give you the certain loot when you've actually spent money with the COD points and not with actually getting your crypto keys. So yes.
I doubt that, but I can see where the frustration when you've got money, a money wall behind an already publicized money wall. That's I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, because you're spending $20 for the DLC. That's if you're an Australian and you haven't bought like the season pass and everything. And then they go, oh, we got new DLC guns for you guys, but you're going to have to pay more money to go get them. Like, that it's happening in Destiny now as well. They're saying it was only cosmetic items, but now they're bringing in things where you can get better things, like better like consumables and stuff to fix your stats up. Yeah.
Here's the biggest. There are two types of there's two major types of microtransactions that really grind my gears, and they grind my gears for the same reason. The first one is similar to what there's a crossover. Here's the problem when it comes to good sort of fun addicting games, and then addicting to where it becomes addicting to you want to spend money. What I mean is they end up acting like a gambling simulator. The best example for that would be FIFA Ultimate Team, in the sense that people get hooked. You just get addicted. It's awesome. It's loads of fun. The problem comes is when you want to spend $120 worth of FIFA points. You get no players in all your packs. You buy more FIFA points. People just get hooked. I know people that spend over $1,000 a year on FIFA points because they're just hooked on FIFA. And it's like they think it's all just they get for fun and stuff. But then of course they got no money. The companies are just making more and more profits off these games that don't have all that much depth, under their main skin, but people just get addicted and spend more and more money. Now, of course, it has fun. It's great to have the choice, and it's not something you could just get rid of. That's going to cause an even bigger problem than just having it. But it's like, it's that initial thought, and the amount of people that I know that have fallen into the addiction of video games and that just can't get off and are now tempted to just spend more and more money. The other one, there's games where that can be a good thing, and that it becomes a good thing when you take out microtransactions completely. When you've got games that I just cannot get off and I have to play non-stop because it's just that much fun. It's like, I've got a weapon that it's like, I cannot get to unless I'm level 120. I am going to sit here until I've got that gun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Games where that can be so cool, which is what I think, I'm not going to delve into DLC too much, but games like Destiny had after the Taken King came out, which was stupidly frustrating that it was DLC, but anyway, once that came out, I got hooked on it again, and I played for a long while, and the emotes and things hadn't come out yet. I was absolutely loving it. Then they came out. All my friends are spending just this bit more money in a game that originally said there would not be any microtransactions. But it's that addicting factor, I think, is just slack from companies. You're not buying it because you just want a bit more fun. It's like, I'm not going to enjoy the game, and then if I want to, maybe I'll get that DLC pack because it'll add a bit for me. The Witcher 3 did that pretty well in the sense that game is huge. I cannot finish that game. Plus, they've got these little DLC packs. They give you tons of free stuff with the game. There's like 9 DLC downloads that you can get with it for free that you don't have to pay
Most
for.
of them are free, yeah.
But that's cool. That's what DLC should be. But when it comes to a game like Evolve or FIFA Ultimate Team, where it's just small, or it literally just gets you addicted to the point where you have to buy more, it's just slack. It's like I'm seeing all the old people in the pub on poker machines that'll sit there and put $1,000 in one day. It's just it's slack. it's slack marketing, in my opinion, and it's taking advantage of the addicting nature of video games in, well, you know, people, basically, just genuine people.
Yeah, I see the point for microtransactions. Like, I don't see the point for, you know, games like Call of Duty or AAA titles. I don't see the point in microtransactions.
They should not.
Yeah,
no, they should not have them at all.
The only reason microtransactions were invented was so for free for all games, free to play games, were able to make a little bit of money off that, which is perfect. Like, if you're not paying for anything, you can put $60 down because that's the amount of money you're going to spend on a real game. So what's the harm in doing that? But when you're spending, let's say for Destiny, I spent $100 on Destiny when it first came out. Then I bought the $30 DLC packs, which were like, you know, the 2 packs, and then I had to spend another $70 on Taken King.
You've spent $200.
Yeah, and then they say
same sort of.
Yeah, and then they say these microtransactions are coming out. These are going to pay for your next DLC, but then they've gone back on their word and they're pretty much saying, "Oh, we never said that. We didn't do that." Like, they're doing really dodgy marketing where they're lying to their fans.
And then you've got the games coming out like FIFA and like NBA 2K, where you hop on and day one people spend a few $100s just upgrading their teams or upgrading their My Player and stuff like that. And you hop on, you get an absolute thrash, and it's not a representation of how good a person is or how much they've played, like in the good old days I'll refer it to. It's just, no, that person bought it day one and spent $200 on upgrading their player with microtransactions. It's
There's an interesting side of, there's a few interesting sides of conversation with this, actually, and one of them is literally the games as art argument that a lot of people love diving into, and I'm not going to try and do that here, but it's worth talking about, like, when you get into competitive games in particular, as an example. You know, there are games like LoL, there are games like, I guess, Hearthstone, there are a few other games, Smash might be an interesting example, where you add gameplay mechanics for money and it changes the meta, and if it's literally, if the content is not worth the amount of money they're asking for it, like if they're overpricing part of their content, then that creates a pretty ridiculous imbalance. And like, I think from what I can tell, I don't play a crazy amount of LoL. Hopefully someone in the chat will be able to help me out with that. But LoL, there's a lot of ways to like pay for like bits and pieces that don't, like, not one piece of equipment will change gameplay a crazy amount. A lot of it still comes down to your skill level. And I think there was a piece by Jim Sterling a little while ago about how, like, you pointed out The Witcher 3 earlier, like how there's free game, lots of free DLC. Like, trying to essentially, like, get this game out, get just like a solid game out. Splatoon was another example he used, and then continue to release free content additions, I guess, for free, means that you keep the audience playing for longer. It might not increase the price of games, which is the other argument. Games are fucking expensive.
They are.
They're really, really expensive to make. And the companies are trying to make up for that. No one is like increasing the base price of games. In the US, it's still sitting at like a solid $60 on average for most games. The way they're getting more money is through DLC and microtransactions. And the reason that's the main reason the price of games hasn't gone up. So it's like, would you rather microtransactions and DLC or paid DLC existed, or would you rather the price of games went up?
that only becomes quizzical when you've got games that come out that are just tiny, and they just reap the advantages of those. Evolve is the best example of that. That game, the gameplay itself and the actual type of game is amazing. The maps are gorgeous, the monsters are cool as. However, there's no story mode. You've only got one multiplayer mode to play, so it's just one game, and you've got, maybe 7 maps and 4 types of people to choose out of, and no appearance customization. You've got this tiny-ass game. I spent about 3 days playing it tops, and that wasn't any big sessions either. I reckon I spent maybe 5 hours on it tops, and I'd seen the whole game. Every aspect of it, everything. It's just, and then that's it. And everything else was coming out in DLC. You could spend probably up to $200 to get all the DLC for it, which is that's just too much the other way. And then the frustrating part comes is the people who do buy those DLC, people don't have a problem with it. But then you've got games like Call of Duty and Battlefield, where half the community has the DLC, half of them don't, and now I can't play with my friends who do, or we have to play in the original maps, and by the end of it, the people who are playing on DLC those servers are just empty. So if you've got the DLC, you're not going to be playing with anyone because everyone just wants to play with their friends. You end up on the original again. You've just wasted $150 on all this DLC, and it just splits the community, and it gets people hooked, and the whole thing is just spiraling out of control. In saying that, though, I am seeing more and more articles in issues like Game Informer on EB Games. People are starting to speak out. Actual game developers are taking note of it and making public announcements and things that are starting to come out with it's getting too far. Destiny probably being the first big title where it was kind of going, what the hell, man?
Yeah.
Like, this is ridiculous. People were not happy with Star Wars Battlefront. Evolve was another big one. Things like that. Games are starting to happen where people are going, nah, this is not good enough. And if they keep going as they are, there'll be a big tide over. But I think they're starting to realize what's going on. They need to find either a new system to make more money, or it's just not gonna happen the way it is anymore. Even if the price of the game goes up, it cannot stay as it is because it's getting out of hand. That's the biggest problem.
Just display ads on their games, yeah.
Oh
just
God,
like
please,
YouTube,
no,
just
not
like every
that.
time you go in a loading screen, you see like a fucking ad from Amy or something.
That's not what I meant at all.
No,
Please.
But I just gotta say though, quickly, with the Division, it's
Yep.
kind of annoyed me for the fact that the game's just come out and they've already announced DLC for it. Like, I was scrolling through YouTube today and I saw a video from IGN saying like something about the upcoming DLC for the Division, even though it's just come out already. Like, they've already prepared themselves for the DLC. That's what's really pissed me off. That they've had all this time.
I don't think that's not Ubisoft in the Division. That's just what gaming is nowadays. As in,
That's the AAA scene.
That's it. That's what happened. As in, it's just how it works. If you got a game, you got to have DLC. That's just it.
Yeah, I know,
Which,
but it's kind of like, if you go and get like Call of Duty Black Ops 3, it's like then they make a video and they go, oh, Call of Duty Black Ops 3 came out, but we got Infinity Ward's next one right here. Like, it's kind of just tossing away the base game.
I got friends who are pre-ordering Black Ops 3 along with the season pass, and it's just really Star Wars Battlefront, and they released that. They had a pre-order. We could pre-order it with the season pass before they'd even told you what the season pass contained.
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
Ew.
Although I've got to say though, with the whole season passes with like Battlefront and Rainbow Six Siege, from my understanding with Battlefront, isn't it? You pay and you only get the maps 2 weeks early. Is that it?
No, it's not it. You're going to get the maps 2 weeks earlier than the people who only pay for that DLC individually.
Oh, okay. Because with Rainbow Six, I know that if you don't buy the season pass, all the DLC is still free, but you've got to wait 2 weeks for it. And you get
how
new
cool would that
characters.
be if they have like a map come out each month on a game and you pay to get it a couple weeks early or something like that? Of course, that's not going to be enough. That's nowhere near the amount of money they're making off DLC. But if you wrap up little interesting different methods such as that, how much happier is that going to keep gamers, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Having things like Battlefield 4 recently had the community project. Do you guys know about that?
No.
No.
So they've got a new map on Battlefield 4 completely developed by DICE in conjunction with gamers. So they'd have the map out for PC gamers for a couple of days. Everyone would put in their input. They'd fix it back up again. A month later, they put it back out again. That was being built for about a year or so, and they've just gone back and forth. And now there is a map that's completely based around exactly what the people said.
Oh,
and it's legit. It's amazing how much it actually the people, us gamers, had an input in it. One of them was it's too vehicle orientated, as in it's too open. There's not enough cover. They bring it out again. It's just full of trees like Endor on Battlefront. And that's like people going, it's a bit too much, tone it down a bit, maybe a few more roads, put this and that there. This is what the gamers are saying, not DICE either. Next one comes out, they have a little test run again. It's exactly like that. And now you're playing on a map where even if, like me, I didn't have any input in it, but it's like I'm playing it going, you can just tell. It's just so cool and fun. To have little projects like that is mad. And it's like, but if they just need to, I don't know, they need to have people sit down, and they probably do at the moment. It's going to take a long time to come up with something, but one company at least needs to have some sort of new revolutionary strategy to keep people happy while still making that extra money and trying to limit the raise of price in full games.
Okay, so would you say maybe a company needs to bring a couple people who are in that type of genre of gameplay and say, this is what we've got so far. Do you guys want to have some input? Not like a beta, but actually hire a couple of actual gamers. Like I'm talking a couple hundred or something, and then get like a query down and say, this is what people say need to be put in.
Or just sort of say, like, little community projects like that are just cool, and it's fun, and it's cool to see the actual gaming community staying involved. And so that was a perfect long-term investment. The DLC has come out, and yet people such as myself are still playing Battlefield 4 because the servers are running great, and they've got little projects like that. They've got a new map coming out every now and then. It only has to be like one map, and I'll go, there's a new map out. Oh, cool, I'll hop back on and play it. You know what I mean? And I haven't spent any money on DLC and things like that. Now, that is...
Actually, there's an interesting game. You were talking about, like, the community having a lot of input on the game design and, like, having maps designed with that in mind.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard about the new Unreal Tournament?
The new what, sorry?
Unreal Tournament.
Oh,
I haven't heard of the new one. I know of the old one.
So, yeah, Unreal Tournament, there's obviously, like, Unreal Tournament 03, 04, Unreal Tournament 3 that came out in, I think, like, 2007 or 8 or something.
Radio.
Yeah.
With the launch of Unreal Engine 4, I believe it was. Yeah, Unreal Engine 4. Epic was just straight up. It's an ongoing project. It is, I believe, currently either in alpha or beta. And it's just, all the content, the majority of the content is community made and community managed. Yeah. And curated, and it's like the content that people love the most are going to play, and everything else just kind of falls to the wayside. And it's a really interesting way of trying to find a happy in between making a game to get money and trying to make a game for the players, because that's
what I mean.
As we've said, that's a hard balance to strike.
I'm just talking about the long-term investment and things like that, where it's like, I will definitely be buying Battlefield 5 because I've had so much fun on Battlefield 4 and I'm still playing it. There's going to be a new one coming out, and if they keep up that positive attitude, I'm going to buy it again. Now, I refuse, for instance, to buy any DLC for Call of Duty. I refuse to buy FIFA at all because of how stupid Ultimate Team's got and how much money people spend. How many people I know who've financial lives have been ruined because they've spent it all on FIFA points and stuff like that. To the point where it comes back to Battlefield, whereas, I played it for a year before I bought any DLC. I had some cool fun on the DLC. Free community project maps are still coming out. It's a fun community to be a part of, and they're going to make a lot more money off of me. It's like, but whereas companies such as EA want to bring it out, they want to bring out some DLC packs, finish that with the year, then bring another one out, get this game sorted, bring this one out, put more DLC packs out. You know what I mean? Just try and rake as much money in as fast as possible and exhaust that. Then get a new title out. There's no passion. There's passion is leaving, and it's becoming too much of a business that I just don't want to be involved in that sort of community. I almost feel sad that DICE belong to EA when it comes to the Battlefield series, because it's like, I love DICE. They're such a cool company and they make such awesome games, but when you've got you've got the big producers such as EA that are selling their titles for them and DLC packs like that, it's frustrating, and it's going to exhaust games that could be really beloved, memorable games like the original Halo series, and what's some old games, Ratchet and Clank, Rayman, or what I mean, Mario Kart, GoldenEye on the N64, you know what I mean? All these games that I would still play today, but it's just not going to happen anymore. I've got games on my shelf that I'm looking at right now that I won't play again because they're from last year and there's a new one come out and everyone's playing that and I can't play that one. It's crap. That's you know what I mean? It's sad.
Would you say though, like, if they actually companies brought out a DLC, and we're all talking about like maps here and stuff, like if they brought out a DLC where it would open up an option for you to be they'd give you all like the items and everything, and you'd be able to make your own maps in the game and have people come in and play them, and they'd have maybe, I don't know, a feature where they'd feature a community map every month in the actual base game model. So
sounds like Little Big Planet.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean? Like for first-person shooters, like you're saying Battlefield and stuff, like Halo did it perfectly with Forge. You could make your maps, you could do anything with it, you could change the gravity, all that stuff, and some of my friends actually honestly still play those games today, like Halo Reach and all that, because they can make maps, and some of the community do better jobs than the developers. I've just got to say this right now, like you see some people and they just make amazing content. Like
Everyone wants to do that, though. The amount of people that'll never make it in a game. Some of the people that do make it, like I remember last year, I think it was Ubisoft. Oh my god, Ubisoft shut down their development in Moscow or something, and about 4,000 people would just lost their jobs. It's like that's the risk you take becoming a game developer, because at any point they go, "There's not got anything to develop over there. Shut it down. It's a waste of money. We need to put that back in this place over here." Yep. All those people there, they just went, "Good luck. Catch you later."
Yeah, well, I mean, we see what they've done with Minecraft. Like, we get so many community maps now from Minecraft, and you see how creative people are. So, would it be unfair to say, like, put a $20 price tag on a DLC where you could make your own map, you can make as many maps as you want, all that stuff, and people who may not even have the DLC will be able to play it, but if they want to make the maps, they can actually pay the $20, and then they'd get the option to make a map for you. And well,
that's what I mean. See how creative we're just getting, just with a little 10-minute brainstorm here. I think it's sort of like just one company needs to find that sweet spot or that perfect ratio of how can we make an extra money off our games whilst keeping people happy. Because at the moment, with the way it's going, the way Microtransactions and DLC is happening, it's not working, and it's not going to work. Eventually, people, I guess, are just going to go, no. That's where they're heading at the moment.
All right, boys, let's make a game, yeah?
Ooh, okay. What are we doing?
One thing at a time.
Oh, no. What should we do? I must say, though, I've been recently, like I said, No Man's Sky. That started out when they released the information on No Man's Sky originally at E3 a year or two ago. It was at that point being developed by 4 people and has now got up to 13 people. Now, do you two know? Have you guys looked into No Man's Sky at all?
I've been looking into it a lot.
Bits and pieces.
I hadn't even thought to look into it the other day. I actually saw like a small screenshot of it at E3 when I was flicking through all the news for it, and I was like, I thought it looked like a little PC minigame, but oh no, holy cow, listen to some of these, right? So it uses, as you may have heard if you've seen some of the interviews with the game developer dude that goes around, I can't even remember his name, it uses procedural generation. So imagine an entire galaxy being created like a Minecraft world would. If you like spawn into a Minecraft map, it sort of gets built around you so that you could just keep going infinitely, basically. Yeah. That's pretty much what's happening here, except that it's not just happening for, just the world around you. It is happening for entire planets. It is happening for plants, for animals, so no animal, no plant or something is bound to pop up twice. Because imagine, like, you create a character at the start of an RPG game. That's how this world will create it. It's got a basic sort of equation to make this sort of fish, and then it changes by the game. The game by itself will change the fins, the size, the eyes, how big it gets, how small it gets. Now you've got things like insects that'll go up to the size of dinosaurs and birds, and holy cow, it's huge. Then you've got the plants that work in the same way. You've got entire planets that work around the same way. Not only that, these planets actually orbit around a star. You can leave the planet without any loading screen. You can come back in to the orbit. It actually rotates as well, was one thing. I thought they said there would be a day-night cycle as it orbits, or as it rotates around its axis and stuff. I was like, surely it's like once you're on the planet, there's just a day-night cycle. But no, they said there was one guy from IGN who had a problem with it. He thought it was a glitch. He was at a space station, went down onto a planet for half an hour, came back up to go to the space station. It was gone. He was like, there's something wrong with it. Like, it's gone. It's like, it's not gone. The planet's just rotated. You need to go back around. It's back around the corner of the planet where you were earlier.
Oh, wow.
Which is so cool. Listen to some of these stats. There is, in the game, roughly 18 quintillion planets. To visit each planet for 1 second would take you 585 billion years. You will never... It is impossible in a human life to see 0.0000001% of it. Each planet is actually planet-sized. Planets closer to the center of stars will often be more barren. Ones in the middle more rich with plant and wildlife. Ones further away more likely to be sort of frozen over. Some of those are biohazardous, like acidic planets and things like that. All this created by like a team of 4. And, ready? To move on from our last thing, there will be no DLC. No DLC. What do you reckon of that?
It makes a lot of sense, to be honest, because for a small team, like it's an interesting idea to try and make a game with such an absurd amount of content with such a small team. And it's actually, if you think about it, at a base level, it's essentially what Fallout 4 would be if it was made by 4 people. Like, it's a huge world, there's a lot of content, but they don't have the manpower to pay attention to each little detail, each bit of content. So what they do is they have these algorithms, they have all of these procedural generated programs, design it for them. And it's going to be interesting to see if that backfires, if we go to a planet and we're like, this has literally nothing on it. But for the most part, it should be a little bit... It'll take people a while to warm up to it compared to, Fallout 4, which is very... I guess traditional in how it's designed.
Yeah, here's the problem. The problem is each planet is going to be, I guarantee, will not be boring in the sense that each planet will be different. Each planet will be teeming with wildlife. You'll be able to mine. You'll be able to fight. You don't even have to go on planets if you want. Apparently, it is possible to play the entire game not even going onto a planet if you want. You could just go and trade with ships and stuff outside of planets.
But
it's the things where...
Is it true that it's all survival? Because I've been hearing a lot of speculation that this game is going to be an actual survival game. Like, you have to... you have to survive, and people were saying that you have to get resources for yourself, like food and stuff.
No, not quite. Basically how it works is the idea of the game is to get as close, is to try and get to the center of the galaxy. So what's going to happen is you're going to go down on the planets, you're going to mine materials, take them to space stations and stations on that planet to try and upgrade your hyperdrive, to try and move to a star that's even further away. Then around that star, there'll be multiple planets, you're going to go onto those planets, and you know what I mean? Sort of things like that. I think the part where... So there's always a catch. Since Destiny, I know I'm referring to Destiny a lot, but that was such a disappointment in the sense that I got so revved up. I was like, there's no loopholes in this game. This is going to be amazing. And then, of course, it comes out, and you go, oh. So it's like, since then, I've remained completely skeptical for every single game I've bought. Now... That is not skeptical in the thing that I think every game's going to be shit. It means that once it comes out, I want to be surprised, but I'm not getting my hopes up. My hopes for this game is, the first thing is, like you say, the planets aren't going to be as... They're going to have caves and creatures. Your whole thing is you're going to be discovering planets, discovering animals, discovering plants and wildlife. There are going to be caves, oceans, rivers, streams, you know what I mean? Things like that. Each planet's going to be really cool, but the art style is very similar. Plus, you don't have a trail of breadcrumbs in the sense that once you've left the planet, there are that many stars and things that you are very unlikely that you're going to find that same planet again. I can't say, I can't I was at this awesome, massive green planet the other day. You got to see it and show my friend and go back to the planet I was at the other day because I have no idea where that planet is. I've completely lost track of it. There are literally quintillions of planets in this huge map that I'm not going to be able to go back. The idea is you just keep going on and on and on and on and on and on, and you're just going to go from planet to planet to planet to planet. Will that get exhausting? Now, the planets do look amazing and very interesting, but when it's the same art style and stuff like that, will that get repetitive and things? Because it very well might do, especially when it's not so much combat-based, but more so mining and trading and just venturing further and further. There's not a lot of depth. There's not much of a story as such, I suppose. Things like that. And the other one was... What was the other one? Oh, the one person from Game Informer had an interview with him and asked him, can I play with friends? And his response was not yes. His response was, that's not the kind of experience we want our players to have. We want you to venture out further and go to places where no one else has been. So, right. You are going to be building a hyperdrive and going where no one else has been. You know what I mean? Yeah. Which sounded like trying to make it emphasize the fact we want you splitting off on your own, going like that. Does that mean though it's just a bit of a hint for no, you can't. You're going to be doing it by yourself, and there's you might be able to stumble across your friend, but yeah, it's not much of a matchmaking sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what's kind of throwing me off getting this game is the fact that if it's just me, like I'm a person who plays like Call of Duty with my mates, and even though yes, a single player experience is fantastic, but like I would like them to kind of incorporate something like maybe, I don't know, if you start with a friend, you can both generate in the same world together, and it'd be a brand new game experience for you both, and then you just do that, and then you can go back into your single player, or you can trade with your mates and help each other out with ship parts and stuff like that.
That's it. Yeah. Can you? He hasn't said no, and he hasn't given a definite yes or no. That's not with like just that one. That's with every question. He did say there was another interview I found with the same guy who said, "Can you play with your friends?" And he was like, "Yes." That's how he said it. It's like just not answering our questions, if you know what I mean. So it's like little things like that where I'm kind of going, what's going on there? It may be something along the lines of you all start from the same spot or something, but it's like once you've ventured out, you're going to have to find each other somehow again or something like I don't know. It might be something along those lines. Because remember, on all these planets, you go to space stations and you see other people. So it's like, how do you see those other people then? It could be like the sense that towards the start of the game, you're surrounded by people, but the more you venture out, the further away you're going to get from anyone. You know what I mean? Things like that. It's such a mystery, this game, which is intriguing me. At the moment, for me, it looks like a game where I really want to get it just so I've got a game where I can do that, because it looks like something I'm going to sit in. I'm not really going to think. It just looks relaxing to sit down for an hour or two and fly off from planet to star, just mining and trading and, you know, finding creatures, but not something I'm going to get absolutely hooked on like some sort of, you know, RPG or first-person shooter that I would normally would.
Yeah, that hub, though, what you're talking about, that could just be like the tower from Destiny, like just where you can see people, but once you venture out, it's a single-player experience.
Well, there is no... Well, maybe. I don't know. I don't think there's a tower, though, as in like, it's all... You spawn exactly where you were last time. That's what he said. Yeah,
I know, but you know how you just said, like, he was in a space station and you could see all these people here. Like, maybe that's just what it was.
Space stations will appear around a lot of planets, as in they're going to appear in almost every solar system. As in, there are millions of space stations that'll spawn around. Remember, this is all generated and stuff,
well,
but...
I mean, it could possibly be multiplayer, because for the whole fact that if there's many space stations, it could just be spawning everyone in different space stations, you know? If it's...
Maybe, yeah. Just spawning people around different areas of the galaxy or something. I don't know, something like that. We don't know. It's such a mystery, this game, that it's like... Of course, I'm remaining skeptical, but in saying that as well, this game looks amazing. I cannot wait to get my hands on it. Even if I cannot wait to get my hands on it for the sense that it could be crap. But it's like, I want to play it to find out if it's crap. You know what I mean? It's
look, let's just hope to God it's not like Evolve.
Oh, okay? Yes, okay. Anything but Evolve. So one of you, Josh, I think it was you, was mentioning the Division not long ago. What were you on about with the Division? What's your thoughts on the Division after its release?
Right. I haven't actually looked a lot into the Division since its release.
Yep, that's all right.
Yep.
I'm right here. I've been playing a lot of it the last couple of days. I mean, feel free to ask me if you're quizzical of anything. Ask me and I will answer.
Okay.
Truthfully.
So on this PS4 Facebook page, I've been seeing a lot of like things where people were complaining a bit about it, saying that you can't personalize your character as much as they'd like your appearance. Right. Like they've kind of given you like a, you know, six options of a face, and then, you know, so you could be running around and meet your long lost twin in the freaking dark zone because everyone looks exactly the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think the only thing I've had with that was at the start, at the very start of the game, I hopped on, I was like, oh, it's pretty much just the beta when it comes to the customization. It's pretty sad. Like, I was like, what? Shit. And saying that, though, I think there's, for me personally, I'm not a big single player. I play PvP. That's all I do. I play Battlefield and Battlefront. That's pretty much my gaming life. Anything else I get a little bit bored of pretty quickly and I change to something else. So it's like, my interest in this game was, I want it to be... There's something with this game in the sense that I'm not thinking about what anyone looks like anymore, because I'm too busy thinking about, I need to take cover, because if I'm stood here, I'm just going to get absolutely nailed. If I'm in the dark zone, there's an extraction going on, there's people around me helping me, but too often it's happened where people have been helping me, and as soon as I go to extract something at the end, they all shoot me and go rogue and just take my stuff and extract it themselves. And, you know, they all end up working together, things like that. And that'll happen in the actual, you know, normal maps where the missions are just hard. They're really difficult. But for some reason, the grind is not grindy in the sense that I haven't given up on it. And I was just talking to my bro E from the Me and E series on my channel. If you guys are still watching, you'd know me, know E from there. I was talking to him, I was like, this is hard. And it's like, I have died like 6 times, and I have barely gone up. I've gone like 2 levels up in the dark zone, and it's like, same with the normal ones. It's like, this is hard. I haven't gained any loot. Why am I not pissed off? I still want to keep going, and I don't know what it is about this game that keeps bringing me back, but the use of cover and the amount of thought that has to go into it, especially in the dark zone. I love the dark zone. You are constantly on your toes. You have to keep your eyes out, or you're just going to get gunned down, your level's going to drop down a bit, and you're going to respawn going, fuck.
Yeah.
Let's go again.
Like,
Stuff like that.
I've also heard a bit of like things about like how when you're in the division and you're not actually in a dark zone, it feels like you're playing a single player experience. Like, it is not.
Oh, you know what? You've got to play with friends. I think that's one thing.
Yeah.
Playing by yourself, it gets much more frustrating, and it's not as intuitive.
But
yeah.
I feel that if a game is said that it's an MMO sort of type game, like they've stated that the Division and Destiny is, like Destiny got it right with the whole, they'd shove a heap of people and servers in a random world, like, you know, Mars or something, and you could actually see just random players. But from what I've heard, that if you're not with friends and you just jump in somewhere, you're not going to the dark zone, you won't find any players at all walking around in the streets.
That was one thing I thought at first as well. Remember though, there's a thing in the game that I don't think people are utilizing enough yet, in that you can go into any safe house. I think you might even be able to do it from the start menu, and it'll link you up with other players that are also searching to be in a group. So if you're not playing with anyone online, it'll hook you up in a group of players. There won't be a restriction on your mic, so you'll just be able to talk to them like that. There's even things, if you meet if you're walking past a player, you will be able to hear his microphone if he's not in a party. And it'll get loud, louder as he gets closer to you, as if he's actually talking while he's running past you. There is little things like that. I don't think people are utilizing that enough yet. Like, I haven't done it with my friend because, I'm playing with my friends. I don't need to. But it's like, if I'm playing by myself, I can go to a safe house and then it'll hook me up with another dude that's also looking to play with someone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think people are utilizing that enough yet. And, if you're playing with friends, that issue's gone completely, as in you're playing with your friends. It is a game that is 10 times better to play with people, But yeah, little things like that, I reckon people, maybe once the games come out for a little more and people realize that it's there and how to use it. Because the menus can be quite daunting at first, in the sense that there's a lot of, this into this, into this, into this. So like when you've opened too many tabs on Firefox, hint, hint, Jack.
Yeah.
Story of my life.
But, you know what I mean? A bit daunting at first. So I think maybe once people have found their way around it, it may be a little better like that. But it is definitely a game you probably should get with friends.
Okay.
Anything else? Is there anything else? That is our last topic, or should we wrap it up there? Is that the first podcast?
The first unnamed podcast?
The first unnamed podcast. You know what? We should just call it the unnamed podcast. Maybe, guys, if you are watching from any of our channels, if you have any idea as to what we should call this podcast, leave a link below, and maybe at the start of the next one, because I think this has gone pretty well. This was pretty fun to do. I reckon we could do this again.
Oh, yeah.
I reckon we'll start with the next one. We'll gather up some suggestions for names we've all gathered, and we'll see if we can choose something in the next one. For now, though, I think we'll have to call it the unnamed podcast. But that was really cool, guys. Thank you very much. Yeah, that was awesome.
That's good.
That was really cool that we could get that together. We all met about a week ago. Guys. Let's go.
Oh my god. Please don't.
Nice.
That was really cool, though. Yeah, awesome, guys. Hopefully we can do this again, and hopefully we'll see you all later. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you made it all the way to the end, holy shit, peace out to you.
People are still watching.
Nice,
they've been here
guys.
since I started.
Is there any comments on your stream? Is there anything people want to ask on the stream? What's going on?
Actually, yeah, guys.
Shall we answer some questions?
Cues?
Yeah, do they want to ask any questions about anything?
Yeah.
Or you know what we should do, guys? Like a subscriber topic, like one person in any of our subscriber base.
Ooh, that's
has
a good
question.
idea. Yeah, I agree. Frequently asked questions with the Unknown Podcast.
Yeah, and then we talk.
I think
about
that's catching on. I'm calling it the Unknown Podcast.
I think that's the best way.
That's mad. That's a great name. What do we got, Jack? Anything?
Nah, nothing by the looks of it. They're saying that they really love the podcast.
Nice, awesome. We'll have to do it again then.
Thank
All right,
you.
mad. But for now, though, that is the first Unknown Podcast. Thank you very much, guys. If you made it all to the end, TK out. Good out. Well, we're out from J&J. I'm going to call you two JJ as a collective.
J&J. I am checking out right now.
JJ. No. I don't care if you agree with it. That's what I'm calling you. It's not for your sake. It's for mine.
I can't remember two names. I'm just going to say JJ.
I'm just going to say JJ. As a collective, you're both together will be known as JJ. But anyway, I'll catch you later, guys. TK out. Thank you for made it all the way to the end. Have a good one.
See you guys.